if we take a look at where everybody's at, certainly revenue is up in all cases. I think you guys are doing fabulous. The Die Hard team is definitely up on top, and followed by red and orange teams, and then the green and red team. If we look, we can see the Technobirds is just shy of a little profit, and a little bit low here, but still I think improving overall from the last previous weeks. And then if we look at our assets and our liabilities, we are doing okay here as well. So that'll give you a little bit of a peek at this. Our ratios onto the ratio page, everyone is doing real well, except for the bluebirds because the profit is low. So if you look at the return on capital specifically, being in like the probably 15% range is where you want to be, roughly 15 to 20%. Orange is doing excellent in that capacity. Die Hard is clearly doing pretty well too, probably. I'm not sure why that's an NA, but you're probably off the charts there, followed by red in that case. So let's get to some changes that I would quickly recommend here for you. The first thing I would take a look at is the market share. So clearly orange has 32% of the market share, followed by red. Those are very good indicators of where you are at, and you can see also by technology who's manufacturing which items. The next thing that I would look at is pricing. And so Techno Bluebirds specifically, I would take a look at the pricing for your Technology 2 and your Technology 1 in the United States. You're a little bit higher than the rest of the group, and I think that's going to cause you some problems. The orange team, you might want to look at your Tech 1, and you may want to increase that a little bit. I think you're losing out on some profit by keeping that so low. The other thing that you'd want to look at specifically for the Techno Bluebirds, very high in Asia on your pricing. You need to get that down if you want to sell anything. So I'd for sure do that. And then also for the red team, I'd kind of take a look at Tech 4. You're a little high in that category based on your competition. And then in Europe, looking at this Team Orange, a little bit high for Tech 4 in Europe. And Technobirds are kind of right in the mix of things there, so doing just fine with that. Your Tech 1, you might want to tick down just a little bit. Orange team is quite low again with pricing, so you may want to bring that up a little bit. In Techno Bluebirds, I might bring that down. You're losing profit if you keep your pricing too low. If I look at production reports, your production reports show the manufacturing in your units and your capacity utilization, which I find the most interesting out of this. So capacity utilization should be at about 75, 85%. If you get to 100, you're losing out on potential. So none of you are in the category of losing out on potential. Everybody could see some increases in their utilization. I certainly probably after this round would not make any more plants because you're not utilizing the plants that you have. So definitely make good use of the plants that you have for sure. Techno Bluebirds, you're just not selling very much right now, so you need to work on increasing your sales by adjusting your market share. And I'm guessing likely we'll have to take a look at your outsourcing as well, which I'll do right here. So our contract manufacturing, Techno Bluebirds, with how low you are, you should not have any contract manufacturing. I would make these all 0 and push all of your production into your plants. You're also not producing anything in Asia, but you're selling contract manufacturing in Asia. So you definitely want to be 0s here, and you want to utilize your plants that you have created. So definitely remove that contract manufacturing. And for the rest of you who are using it, nobody's close enough to need to use contract manufacturing. So for this next round, I would just get rid of all of your contract manufacturing and start pushing it into your own facilities. That's going to increase your utilization and make you more profitable overall. So for the overall cost report, I like to look at this from a logistics perspective. So as an example, Technobirds, you're spending a lot of money on logistics and transportation in Asia. primarily because you're not manufacturing enough to meet the need that you have there, so you're shipping it from the United States. So that's where it's increasing. The other thing that you're doing is you're making things in Asia and shipping them to the United States as well. You should not have any logistics cost for the United States if you're utilizing your logistics appropriately. So I will show you how to do that. Europe you're always going to have, but certainly your Asia and your United States should be a lot lower. So what I'll do is I'm just going to go into the decisions, and I will take one of the team areas. I'm going to do the Techno Bluebirds. And the one thing that I'm going to go into first for the Techno Bluebirds, just as an example, is as I'm looking at where they're structured and set up, I'm going to look at the unit cost and how much it costs for me to make it, and I'm going to reduce the price. Okay, so certainly your Tech 1 cost shouldn't be probably more than $200, $225, something like that. You're way too high, and you're not selling enough because of how high you are. Your unit cost for Tech 2 is quite high right now, and I'm not sure what's causing it. But the one thing that I'm going to check is your taxes, because your taxes could be causing this price increase. So certainly when we play with these numbers here, we are actually increasing the cost of the goods to ship it to certain areas. So if I would move this back to 1, and I know that you guys have it as 2 right now, because you had more profit in the US, so I know why you're doing that. But I'm going to go back to my marketing, and I'm just going to show you the impact that that has. So now when I look at my Tech 2 costs, it did not adjust. Let me just see. Sometimes it'll adjust how much you're spending on it. I'm guessing that it will have adjusted your Asia and your Europe because it was what you were shipping to them. That was costing so much. So as an example here in Europe or in Asia, your cost was $838 for your Tech 3, and you're at $5,000. That shouldn't be more than probably $2,000. So now that we adjusted that, that cost is a lot lower. Same with the cost for Technology 1. This should really be more like $2,000 or $1,800 even. So you'll want to make those adjustments. And then I'm guessing your Europe costs will have gone down considerably as well. Yes, so 82, this should be about $160, and this should be about $240. So I would adjust those. That would be something that I would do, Techno Bluebirds, to help with your marketing. Certainly it did not help your US cost because your Asia to the US wasn't impacted by it, but it did help some of the cost of your product from the US to Europe and to Asia. So that's your choice on where you want this to be. I'm just kind of showing you the impact it has. So, if I turn this back and I go to Asia as an example, it now costs more than what it did before because of that tax bracket. You're actually charging basically twice as much as what you would have had before. So that makes a difference. The other thing that you want to look at is your logistics. So Technology 1 and Technology 3 is being manufactured in the United States. So I would always ship to the United States first, and then I would ship to Europe always second. Now, if you have Asia that is actually purchasing Tech 3, then perhaps you want to offer that in Asia first. I'm not sure which countries you're offering that product to, but if Asia is making it, then I certainly wouldn't do it this way. So I think that's probably why you're shipping it to Asia. That's also increasing some of your costs because you're not manufacturing it in Asia. Technology 2 then is Asia, Europe, United States, and then Tech 4 is US, Europe, Asia. I would not have this set up this way because basically your selection is any products you make in Asia is going to the US first. And I would definitely do any products that I made in Asia to go to Asia first. So you want to make this improvement here. Okay? So those are just some things to think about to help improve your current situation. So then I'd look at your cash and local debt. You don't really have any local debt. Everything is equity. So you're doing really well from a debt perspective. Your issue right now is just getting your pricing under control and your production out of control. So under production, as an example, this would all be zeros for me. And I know you're probably doing it because of how you're estimating, but let's take a look at the estimation then. If I go to my demand slide, your estimations here should be a percentage of growth based on what they said, and that actually looks really good. So I don't think you're overshooting here based on this. I think you just need to get your pricing under control, and then you'll start to be able to sell. So I would change for Technobirds, I would change your outsourcing, and I would do primarily all of it in-house. These should all be hundreds. Like, you're not utilizing any of your production facilities. So your product line 1 here should be 50 and 50, and here should be 50 and 50. And then I would remove, and I'm not looking at what you estimated, but I would remove this to 0. All right, so now you have some cut production because you're producing too much, but it doesn't matter because you have to use your facilities. So I think you're going to be okay if you start setting this up and start selling your product at a reasonable price. So you should always be manufacturing and using the facilities that you have. You don't want to pay somebody else and keep your production facility open and not use it. You need to use your production facility. So I hope that helps. If you guys have any other questions or want me to create a video specifically for your company, I would do that. I just picked the Techno Bluebirds so that I could help get them out of the negative number of profitability, because certainly they have no debt, which is a great place to be. If you have questions, let me know. Have a great week.